Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, teacher. Hello, teacher.
Hello.
Buenas noches, profe. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi,
What are
hi,
you guys
Professor.
doing?
How are
Very
you?
good. Thanks.
Great.
Good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Hey, Fernando. What's up?
What's up, Christian? How's it going?
Good working, but everything's pretty cool.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
Hey, Andres. What's up?
Hi. How's everybody doing?
Very good.
Hi.
Okay. Well, let's start. I think we can review very fast, very quickly, what we studied last time. And then check the concepts that you read last week. Right? So we have, last time we talked about the subfields of linguistics. Do you guys remember the subfields?
Yeah.
That was the one that were grammatical and lexical, if I'm not mistaken? No. I know linguistics.
Uh-huh.
So semantics, pragmatics, phonology,
Exactly.
phonetics, and morphology.
Right. So
I'm sure I'm missing some.
Those
syntax.
are the areas or subfields of linguistics. Okay. So we mentioned that phonetics studies
sounds,
phonology. Oh.
Phonology, I don't remember. Like mixing the sounds? Yes? No?
The combination.
Like the combinations is, I was looking for the word, combinations of words, of sounds, sorry.
Exactly. And morphology?
Isn't morphology the one of how you create the sounds with your voice? With your, no?
No, not the sound, but the word. How
the
words?
Like the parts of speech?
The structure?
Yes, but just the word. So how words can be created. Like if we have a root, we can have some suffixes and prefixes that help us to create new words. Okay, what about syntax?
That is the order of the words?
Yeah. So it's related to
the order and function of the words.
It's related to grammar, right?
Yeah.
So how words can be combined so they are grammatically correct. What about semantics?
That is the meaning of word.
About the meaning,
Exactly, and pragmatics?
It's also meaning, but meaning in context.
Meaning, taking into account the context, right? Okay. Then we studied the subfields of semantics. Okay. You remember?
That was the one, the ones that I was saying: lexical, grammatical, and logical.
And lexical studies what?
The word meanings and the word relations.
Vocabulary, maybe?
The word meanings. And grammatical semantics, the word relations.
Okay.
So remember that we mentioned that some words have their own rules, so they cannot accept, some verbs cannot accept certain nouns or certain adjectives. So the relation between or among words.
There's that famous phrase that we studied last time. Greenless leaves. What was it again? Remember the structure?
Color green ideas sleep furiously.
Exactly. That's right there.
Right. And what about logical semantics?
It studies the logical aspects of meanings, such as the sense, the reference, the implication, and logical forms.
Exactly. So, what inferences can we make, or how do we arrive, or how do we presuppose things or infer things based on reference and the sense of the words? Okay, good. Let's see. Then we had the difference among sentences, utterances, and propositions.
So utterance, I remember, is the sound. When someone starts speaking until they stop speaking. That is utterance.
It's what the person says or writes. So that we usually use quotation marks to express that it's in utterance. And what about
maybe preposition could be the completely meaning of a sentence?
an utterance?
No, I mean prepositions. Utterance is like the period, like the stretch between the words when we are speaking.
Yeah, in prepositions, as you mentioned, is related to the meaning of the sentence that we utter. Or the idea. What's the idea that we want to express with the words that we have? So we mentioned that there are some expressions that have their own meaning, and it's not the meaning of each word, but it's the meaning of the whole expression, and that it sometimes is very difficult to find out an equivalent in a different language.
Excuse me, teacher. Refrain in Spanish is a preposition?
Yes. No, I mean, they are examples of how we can deal with prepositions, because preposition is the idea that you want to express with those expressions. So here we had no tener pelos en la lengua, so there is not an equivalent for that expression in English, but the closest word to say it would be means my words. I'm not going to mince my words, because if you say not having hair on the tongue, the person is going to understand as just what you said, each word by word, that you really don't have the hair on the tongue, but not what it really means in Spanish, which is that you are not going to stop saying what you want to say, but you're just going to be very direct. So prepositions are connected to finding out the idea that wants to be expressed with the words. In this case, expressions is an example to mean that we cannot take each word by word, the meaning of each word by word, or each one of the words, but we need to understand what the expression means in the culture to try to find out an equivalent in the other language.
Okay.
Remember that we are dealing with meaning of words, meaning of sentences, and how we come up with inferences. And that's what semantics studies. Okay, then we had sense and reference. So what do you guys remember about the difference?
Sense is like
Maybe that.
Sorry.
Yes.
Go,
Reference.
Go, Karen.
Was it? Please, next time, please raise your hand. Carol, please.
Okay. Well, I understood that sense could be the idea or own idea that we have about a concept or a meaning. So the idea that we have our own idea, and reference is the correct idea, is the meaning. In fact, it's a meaning. Reference is the real thing, is the real meaning.
So we had
I
that
don't know.
example. So we say cupcake, sense is this image. Is always connected to the mental image that we have in our minds regarding the word meaning, the meaning of the word. And reference is more connected to the context, so we can have different references. In this case, we talked about the idea that this girl referred to her boyfriend as Cupcake, right? So is the reference in this way is connected to context and to the person that talks.
But I think that's when we misunderstand things too, correct?
That's the one way for us to misunderstand ideas that are expressed, because we can have different reference. When we deal with context and with the person who mentions, we utters the words, and when we deal with the listener, when we have into account those three things, we can start thinking about miscommunication, because then is not we deal with different ways to understand.
Teacher, is
I mean,
sense is like a visual reference?
yes, it's like when we learn a word when we are children. Usually we learn it because we watch the object. Somebody points at it and tell us that that is called a certain word. That is an apple, or that is a car, or that is a baby, or that is a ball. So what we have in our head, in our minds, is a mental representation of that reality, and that is called, in semantics, is called sense.
Exactly.
Teacher, I confused. So reference is connect to pragmatics, for example.
Exactly.
And the sense is connected to semantics.
Yes.
No? Okay.
Good. So there, Christian mentioned that we might have misunderstandings when we deal with the reference. Yes. So here, I don't know if you remember the video that was published in the virtual room for task 2 that mentioned the reasons why we might have a misunderstanding or miscommunication even if we have face-to-face conversations, so the listener might understand the idea in a different way. What are the reasons that were mentioned in the video for that miscommunication or misunderstanding?
Don't remember.
It's
Is
because,
this
sorry,
Jennifer?
go? Yeah.
It's related to the reference because what I understand is reference is related to the object or in the real world, and every person has their own idea of why they want to communicate. And in the moment, and even when we talk in the same language, we have this kind of misunderstanding because what I'm thinking and try to communicate to the other person is not the same that the other person understand because has that different reference.
People might have different reference, but there are many causes of misunderstanding.
Maybe culture.
Yes, culture was one that was mentioned in the video.
Exactly.
Maybe past experience or
Exactly.
experiences.
Exactly. That was one more.
Experiences.
I'll give that one to Andres. Andres, what's the other one? Do you remember?
If a person tells you if a person tells you about a problem that the person has, you might see that problem in a different way because you have previous experiences or your cultural background makes that you understand the problem in a different way. You remember I think it was in the other. Well, there is other important factor aspect that deals with a misunderstanding that causes that we learn things in a different way from anybody, from other people. So culture, previous experiences. What shapes the way you see things in life? So, for example, think about indigenous people and think about people who live in the city. What changes the way those indigenous people see life and how people who live in the city see life?
You're talking about the mentality, the way of thinking?
Yeah, the way they interpret ideas, they see life in general.
Teacher, I believe that it depends to also of the knowledge, because sometimes and maybe if a doctor tells to his patient the technical meanings, they won't understand, he won't understand, but it's like in the way that we put more easily or complicate the meaning of the words too. I believe, I don't know.
Yes, knowledge. How do we acquire knowledge?
By experience.
By experience, yes, but also
Well, studying.
studying, yes, and
context, no?
and your family, right?
And by relations, yes, I was going to say. Sorry, I had an issue with my network, but I'm back. yeah, by relationships with others, with family members, with their with our culture, with our yeah, with our community, our ethnicity.
Okay, that's the reason why indigenous people have a different referent and a different sense of the word land than people who live in the cities. For them, land is very special, is the source of life, is what gives them food. But for us, people who live in the city, is not that special. So, how did they come up with that meaning? Because they have an oral way of getting that knowledge in their communities, in their families. So, family is part of the context that shapes people's understanding of words and understanding of reality. Religion, too, shapes our way of understanding words, understanding life, as well as culture, as well as previous experiences. That's why misinterpretation and miscommunication is like very common. You would see uh, the problem in a different way as the other person or the solution.
Professor, I have an experience like 4 years ago. I went to Texas and I was there for 6 months and I worked as a medical interpreter. So I went to hospitals and it was very complicated because I was I usually helped like the Mexicans, Puerto Ricanos, and all. Everybody had like a different dialect. So when they went to the doctor, I was there sitting next to them with the doctor, and then they said, okay, what's wrong with the patient? It was very complicated because I didn't know like that background of those, let's say the Mexican and the Puerto Ricanos is very different. So it was very complicated, but it was a great experience. So
Okay.
because I always misunderstood what this person said, being from Colombia.
Okay, now that you mentioned that example and that you live for a couple of years in the USA, you could probably mention the reason why we need to be very careful with using words in USA because they are like more specific with words and they try not to be rude, right?
Exactly.
When they
Yeah.
communicate. So what happens regarding differences in the culture when they use a word and when we use a word here? So like for example, when we refer to people who have a disability, what are the words that are used in USA to refer to people who have disabilities, or how do they deal with that?
But in what sense? Informal, in an informal way?
Yeah, so that if the problem there is that the idea is not being rude with anybody, or let's change it. What is the problem with the word thin and the word slim? For us, we say in Spanish, flaco.
O delgado.
And that's not a problem, right? We say, no, él está flaco, él está delgado, ella está flaca, o ella está delgada. But there is different. So we have the word slim and we have the word thin. And we need to be careful about using both words. So could you explain that difference of using one or the other word, slim and thin, or fat, chubby, or...
Well, I can give the word to somebody else. I don't know. Because for me, when slim and thin, they're almost the same, no?
Yeah.
And being there too.
Yeah, but the idea there is not being rude, so that it would be if you have a conversation with a person you don't have a lot of contact with.
Confidence, maybe?
Okay, confidence. So you will say, well, you look slim or you are asleep. And not
Or what about this example, Professor? When colored people are among themselves, for them this word nigger is very common.
good. Okay,
But
that's a good one.
but if I'm there and I say, "Hey, nigga, what's up?" They'll kill me because I don't belong to that culture, or maybe it's not. It's not. They'll kill me on the spot, right? Because it's not very common, like for me to use those words among them.
Okay, that's a good one because you will get into trouble if you use this word.
But I do
Yeah.
understand what you're saying. Like if I meet, for example, a person, I don't know, a kid that I taught to them like when they were 10 years old and now they're 15 and they've got like heavy. Maybe if I see them and I wouldn't be able to tell them that, oh my God, you're so fat. That would be rude. So probably I would say something like, "Ah, you're so big. You've grown a lot." But I wouldn't like say a word like fat because that would make people feel uncomfortable or make them feel, well, as you say, make me seem like a rude person.
So it depends on how what is it of the relationship that you have with the person, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And
because
the,
maybe
and the education you have.
if it's your brother or your sister and they were on a big trip and they come back and they are kind of fat, you are probably going to say them with all confidence, you're so fat, you ate a lot, or what happened, or something like that, and probably you're going to be able to discuss it because there's another type of relationship and closeness.
Okay, maybe Fernando can help us with a word that is rooted in Spain and that is not in Colombia. Well, you know that culture very well,
Yeah.
so you can help us with that. So if you tell
Well,
me that root word for Spain, for people from Spain, that was not going to be
yeah.
rude for us.
Like if you say to someone marica, you will offend the person, right? It's like a rude. It's rude to say that to a person, to anyone. Here you use marica like a dude, like friend.
Like a friend.
Exactly, like a friend. It's more common. But
But you
in
know
Spain,
what?
it's rude word.
And the opposite, a word that is rude there, but it's not rude here.
Rude here, but not in Spain.
Yes. Yes.
Chirimoya, chiripolla, something like that, no?
Gilipollas.
Okay. So.
Yeah, but you don't use that here in Colombia.
No, you don't, but it's very funny. It's a funny word.
Yeah, it's funny.
We won't get that angry as people from Spain will get if we are told that.
Exactly. And that happened to me here in the school where I work. There's a Spanish teacher, and he said, "Hey, oye, tú chirimoya," and I said, "Oh man, that's a funny word," but for him, it's very rude. Oh no, cuidado con esa palabra, profesor, porque donde yo allá en España esa palabra es fuerte. Oh, I'm sorry, because I started to use it among my friends, and I almost got in trouble too.
Yeah.
Okay.
The word regalar, me regalas una arepa, like for example, in Spain, if you use the regalar when you ask for something, they misunderstand you because they think you want it for free. It's like a present. Regalar something is to give something, like to give a present for free. Give something for free. So you get misunderstood in Spain if you use the word regalar. Me regala una arepa. Or something like
that. So in those words, we can see what is the connection with or how culture is connected with the idea of misunderstanding or miscommunication.
They get angry with you if you say me regala like a package of whatever, because they think you want it for free. So the bartender is like, you want it for free? Come on, get out of here.
Okay.
What do you want?
There are many more that we might think about in, for example, those words that are used in USA and here. For example,
that's cultural. Yeah, that's cultural. The cultural use of language.
We're not going so far away, for example.
Which one?
We're not going so far away. For example, I think here in the north of Colombia, maybe in Santander, they say arrecho. So we you know, the
Okay, yeah.
parts of here, we try to understand, we tend to understand that like kind of hard, no? Something like that.
Well, what I understand is, well, in Santander it means that you're mad, but in Bogota it means like you're, I don't know, I'm gonna say
Hot.
horny, no? Maybe?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Hard.
Yes. Like that, yes.
Okay.
I'm not gonna repeat it, okay? I'm sorry, guys.
All right. So those are like sources of misunderstanding, miscommunication that we need to deal with when we have any conversation with a person. So that's why it is very easy to get a different idea of the of what you were trying to say or what you are listening, even if you are using Spanish, even if all people are using Spanish.
Right.
So that it is connected to the idea of sense, because as well
Yeah, it
you
is.
will have a different mental representation of these words according to your background, your knowledge, previous knowledge, place where you were born, etc. What you were taught by your family, your religion.
That's why culture is so important for kids that are learning this second language for them to travel and right?
That's why it is. I guess if it's important to travel when you teach English, it's important to travel because you need to learn about culture, or well, you can learn it with videos and with TV, but it will
Music
be
too.
easier if you go abroad. What did you say, Christian?
Music too. Music teaches
Okay,
you a
yeah.
lot of culture too.
By listening to music, we might learn a lot about culture too. So that is the difference between sense and reference. Reference is more connected to pragmatics, as you mentioned. It was Jennifer who mentioned that, right? And sense is connected to the mental representation. So let's connect that with what you studied last week. So we have some theories, right? Because your task was watch a short video that a video about an instruction that a girl received and mention why the instruction could be misunderstood by mentioning how the different interpretations of the word organized were connected to two theories, that is the theory of reference and the theory of the denotational theory. So what is the denotational theory about?
Oh, well, basically is that the denotation, meaning the word, is equal to an object in the real world. So basically, it's like a one-to-one relationship between what you say or the word that you're using and the objects in the real world that you are referencing.
Teacher, I understand that the notation is a real meaning that there is in a dictionary, for example, and there is the notation and what is the other word? The notation and
Representational meaning, the representation, the sense, the object.
Exactly.
Okay, that's the notation. So we understand we understand the idea according to what we have in the dictionary regarding the meaning of the word. So that's the theory of reference. And as Andres Bernal mentioned, is the direct relationship between the word, that is a symbol or a sign, better, the sign, the word, and the reality, right? So no, the real thing that we are pointing at, so that relationship is called, is related with the theory of reference or the denotational theory. Okay, and what is the explanation about our understanding of objects that don't exist or that are ambiguous, that is abstract, like emotions or like unicorn that it doesn't exist in real life? How can people understand the idea?
With a mental image?
Because we have a mental image, right? And
Or the
again,
concept? Yeah.
of the concept. And again, the mental image is connected to our culture, family, knowledge that we got from our family, and
Our background.
the background, the previous experiences.
Experiences. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, that was one of the issues that the video where they explained this said that not every word necessarily has an object that represents it in the real world. So in the cases where objects are not represented, that image, it would be difficult to have like a one-to-one or a direct relation between the word and the representation, because it's not a representation that actually exists.
That's why there are different theories to find out how people understand an idea or a word, because that idea of mental representation, then we have to deal with this situation in which we have objects that are not real, so that there is not a one-to-one relation between the sign, the word, and the object in real life. Good. And the representational theory.
Yeah, it deals with the meaning from the point of view that of its relation with the situation it describes.
So the way that, go, sorry.
No, sorry, no, yeah, I just want to say that it emphasizes the link of relationship between language, the linguistic expression, and the conceptual structure.
So we have three things, right? The real object, your mental interpretation, or the mental image, and the word.
Yeah.
So it's the connection between those three.
Yeah, that's what makes it. Really complex to understand.
Okay, what do you guys remember about the three or the different interpretations of the word organize in the video that you watched, the homework that you had last week?
Organize the shelf, was it? Well, I think it was.
Organize us to put the brochures in the shelves.
Yeah, that was one of them.
Yeah, and the first two, the first and the second interpretations were about the need of doing something, the need to organize something. The third interpretation was the action. It talked about the action of organizing. So what I understood is that the third interpretation related to the notional approach, because it talks about the action of organizing. The organizing what? The brochures. We talk about the brochures, something like that? Some brochures?
Yes.
Brochures.
Yeah, brochures about South Australia, something like that. And the first and second one talk about the need of organizing whatever, the brochures. So that's what I understood. So the first two were related to this representational theory. And the third one was about the notational one, the notational theory, because it talked about doing an action. The verb organize is denoted the action of organize. Organize, doing something. Organize something. Do you understand?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think when we're talking about a denotational meaning, what I kind of understood is that there's like that fixed image that you have about organizing, But that's why the representational theory has was a little bit more to do with the example, because at the end of the day, organizing could mean, I mean, the video gave those three possibilities, but it could mean a bunch of different things depending on a lot of things. So for example, in our task, we put the example, what happens if, for example, the girl is a designer and the guy is her boss, and just is saying organize, and what he's meaning is organize the items within within the document that you're doing. So at the end of the day, that word organize is going to depend a lot on the concepts that each of them is having, and that is also going to depend in turn with the context that they are in, and that context is going to determine what is the idea that they have about organization, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of complex.
So that we need more words to express the idea. So we would say, take the brochures and put them in the shelf, or
stack them up.
what other ideas?
Or maybe during the conversation or in the situation, just the sentence, organize the brochures would be clear, giving within a situation, within a context. I mean, we put the example there. What happens if they are, she's like at the secretary in a travel agency, and somebody came and saw a bunch of brochures about traveling, and they are all on the floor, and the boss comes and tells, take them and organize them. It would be very clear, given the situation and the context, it would be very clear that they are meaning pick them up and put them in their original order. So maybe it can be more words, like, as you say, to be more to be a little bit more clear, or it could be just the context gives you the idea of what they are saying. Here, in the example that you gave us for the task, the fact that we just don't have a context, but just have the sentence, the free sentence, it leads to any interpretation that we could give it, given the three that they gave us in the video, but we could also give other interpretations depending on whatever we can come up with, because it is completely out of context, and we don't know in which conversation they were having or what type of relationship they have, or as you were saying in the part of misunderstanding, what type of culture or social relationship the two of them, the two characters that are speaking there may have.
Yes, the context will help to understand.
Only the one.
What? Yes, please.
I think only the speaker knows what he wants the other persons to do, no?
Yeah, the context will help to understand the idea. But also, even if we are sharing the same space, sometimes we have misunderstandings. And so we need to use more words to give explanations and give instructions so they are clear.
Yeah, of course, that's also true. It happens to us as teachers a lot, no? That we give an instruction, we think that the instruction is super clear and that everybody knows what they have to do. And then they come up with questions that you just say, like, how did they get to that conclusion of that was the task that I was asking, or that was what I expected them to do? And it's just because they understand some word or some expression that you used, understood it differently than maybe one did when one created the task.
Yes. So it means that we need to be clear, or give an example, or use specific words so that the instructions are understood the way we want them to be understood.
Yeah, so what is the answer of this question, of this exercise? I mean, which one is the notational and which one is representational?
Okay, according to you guys, that all of you work with that for that homework, all of you answer the question. So if we were talking about Fernando mentioned that one of the definitions of the word organized was to put in the shelves the brochures, or to actions that were send the information through email. to South Africa, and the other action. So taking into account those interpretations of the word organize, which one is connected with the theory of representational theory, and which one is connected to the denotational theory.
Yeah, I answered the third one is related with the denotational because it refers the verb organize refers to doing something to organize, putting a self, whatever. That's how I interpret it. Right, and the first and second one, as I said before, it related with the representational approach because it talks about the need, the necessity, the need of organize and mail these brochures. It talks about the need. But the third one, it just talks about organize something in a cell.
Put
That's
in
how
order, right? So in
yeah,
this,
put in order, exactly.
I also like, I don't remember where did I see it, but I was looking and it said that in this case of the notational, when there were several possible, probably the one that is referred to the notational meaning is the one that could be the more common and the one that could be mostly accepted. So I agree in that case with Fernando, and that's what we put in ours. That is probably the first image that comes to mind when you say organize is to put in a specific order under a specific system. So we also put that in that case, the denotational meaning could be put in order, like stack them up, or I mean, whatever system she comes up with, but putting it in a specific order, like physically. And then representational meaning, as I was saying a moment ago with the examples I gave, we put that, yeah, the two of those, the other two could also be, and many others could be depending on the situation and the context and, well, what I just discussed some minutes ago.
okay, do you guys agree?
Yeah.
You all work on that task. So what do you write about the connection between the meaning of the word organize and the theories?
Hello.
Yeah.
Did you answer that question?
Silence is the best answer to misunderstand. If you keep quiet, you won't misunderstand anything.
Are you there? So we mentioned that the denotation theory is the relationship between the word and the real object, or the connection between the word and what we can find in the dictionary. So if you found out 3 different meanings in the video about the word organize, you needed to answer that the one that was connected to the denotation theory was the meaning connected to what we can find in the dictionary about the word organize.
In the video, in one of the videos in this unit, the video about the denotational theory, they give us 3 examples of words that are related with the denotational theory, which were proper nouns, which refers to individuals or people, common nouns, which refer to set of things or objects in the world, and verbs, which denote actions. I took that example of the notational theory to answer this exercise. So the third interpretation relates to the verb, to the action of organizing something in a physical way, just as Andres said before. But the first and the second ones, they talk about the necessity, the need of organizing and email and, you know, like the mental image of the idea of organize. So that's the answer I put on my exercise. I don't know.
And it's actually correct. When I worked with Andres and Andres Mayor, when we did the exercise, when we went through those three examples they have there in the task, it's like you said too. The third one is like to organize. It's like Andres said. If you go into this place and there's a lot of books on the floor and all that, and I tell this guy, please organize it. I know what this person is referring to. You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
The action of, so that's the notational approach.
Exactly.
I'm 100% sure, but let's hear our teacher.
But what is that? What is that? But
what? I hope I'm right. I don't know.
The bad could be the words that were used to express the idea. Well, let me know if you understood the meaning of sense, the meaning of reference, the meaning of denotation.
Well, kind of. This is, I think that this course of theoretical linguistics is, I don't like theoretical linguistics as much as applied.
It's theory, yes, it's theory. It's a lot of analysis about
And
how
it's
we
also,
come up with understanding the language.
yeah, and so it also has a lot to do like with the mental representations, and so it's very like subjective and very I mean, it's different to have a grasp in our minds, and also the readings are a little bit complex sometimes. You have to read it like several times to try to understand a little bit what they're trying to say. So applied linguistics that has more to do with the teaching and with strategies and what are all those things is much more interesting for me. This one is, I find it tough. Sometimes I find that I need to like rewatch the video or look for additional examples, because sometimes the first time I don't feel that I understand it that well. And even when we get here, I notice that there are things that maybe I understood in some way, and maybe they are not exactly as I understood them. So this one I find a little bit more complex than the other one.
And even though there was a good example in the video of watch out for that dog, and they show this bulldog, and this person says, "Oh, watch out for that dog." Well, there's the image, there's a reference. But if I listen to it, I'm not looking at the dog. That has to be now with the sense, and right. And so in the other ways, the reference. Well, but just by watching at the video, it makes sense. But then when I stop the video and I start to think, and I say, "Oh my God, I'm a bit confused." But
what is a dog?
But that's what I understood, right? Watch out for that dog. If I see it, that's the referent. The dog is the referent. But if I'm not looking at the dog and I just listen to the person, watch out for that dog. It comes to my mind and the image comes out that it's a dog. That sense.
Yeah, watch out for the dog. The denotation is that you are watching the dog that is in front of you. So
I'm
the
looking at
person
it.
is referring to that real animal that
Exactly.
is in front of you. And this is the image that you might have in your mind about a dog.
Exactly. But I know it's a dog in my image, in my head.
Yeah, because it has some characteristics that help you to identify that that animal is a dog and not a different one.
But also in the example, they said that, yeah, that's true. But also we can have different images in our minds of dogs that all could fit the mold.
Yes.
So
it could be a man that has different like women.
Yeah, I thought exactly of the same thing. Yeah, I do.
Oh yeah, correct. That's what I thought. Well, mire, eso es un perro. I don't know, right?
That's also a good definition. I mean, something that could come to mind. So I think, and also, no, but I wasn't, yes, I did think about that example also, but not only that, but also it said kind of, yes, you have a mental representation of a dog, but talking about races, one could be like a lab, and the other one could be like a French poodle, and the other one could be like a bulldog, and they are all dogs. So, but they have different characteristics. So one has a long tail, other short. One is big, other small. One is a little bit fatter, other is thinner. So even when we have the same idea of dog, we can have different representations in our minds.
So,
Yeah,
so,
but
I- so I think that's where the theories of concept come in,
Yeah,
right?
I was thinking about that.
That
The
we have
theories of concept. Yeah.
there's four of them: the theory, image, classical theory, causal theory, and the prototype theory. I don't know.
yeah, that's why we have the other theories, because a representational theory doesn't give explanations about those fuzziness that you were mentioned in the video, and about those asymmetrical things that were mentioned in the video, about how far, how close is the mental image to the real object that we have, or what is the word that best fits, or the mental image that best fits the word that we have. So the mental image theory, it doesn't come up with answers for the fuzziness and the asymmetrical things that we find when we make the connection between the word, the mental image, and the real object. But well, Christian, you mentioned the idea of a woman. So, what is the mental representation of a woman? I think that is more. Uh, it is more complex when we think about, for example, a role like mother. So, what do you have in your mind? What is your mental representation of a mother? So, you will have in your mind the characteristics of your mother, which could which are very different to the characteristics of my mother and the other mothers in the world. So it depends on the
Background,
experiences that the person
culture.
has had, culture, family relations, family knowledge, etc.
So if I heard this, like, watch out for that dog, and I thought this guy had like different, like 10 women, my background, what was my background like in the past? Oh my God.
Maybe you just feel identified with the.
That's
With
what I'm saying.
the,
No.
maybe
I
you
have
feel
twins now.
identified with the.
You are taking this so serious.
You're very pragmatic today.
But as professor, but as that, by doing those examples, we understand. It's more. It becomes more like to us. I don't know.
No, yeah, like that's the idea, to find out what we have misunderstandings because of the mental representations that we have that might be different, that are different. So only we are closest in the meaning, or in the mental representations with words like those that refer to animals that are real life, real things that we have in front. But those ideas that are that you cannot touch, like emotions, the roles like parent, father, sister, daughter, etc. Those things that you cannot touch uh, are even more difficult to have a, a close mental image of what we mean. And that's the reason why we have misunderstanding, miscommunication.
Exactly.
That is like the point of everything, of the point of all this discussion, all this analysis, is that to find out, to understand the reason of miscommunication. Since semantics, well, semantics wants is to find out like the rule, or to come up with a theory that explains how people understand the meaning of words, sentences, and sentences. What is the rule? That is the idea of semantics. The idea of syntax is come up with the rules that explain how is that a sentence in a language is correct in grammar. So we are here like analyzing that. What are the causes of misunderstanding in terms of meaning and in terms of meaning of words specifically. Okay, so sense, reference, and denotation are clear for you?
Yeah.
I'm still confused with the notation. I understand. Reference, I mean, sense is the mental image.
Yes.
Reference is related to the context and what actually is the object in the real life, and know was the object have a reference. And denotation is the relation between sense and reference in what we are going to, or what we are saying at the moment, or
No, denotation is the connection, a relationship between the word and the real thing, right? And so we find it in what we find it in the dictionary as a definition of the word, which is like is the connection between the word and the real thing. That's denotation, without taking into account the image or without taking into account the context, but the direct relationship between the word
and
and
the real thing.
the real thing. Exactly.
Okay, now it's clear. Thank you.
Good. And then you study semantic fields. Do you guys remember what semantic fields are?
There's like word. There's like for example, what we did in the activity with Andres and Andres Major, we and Nicolas. That was a second task that we had to create an activity, and there had to be a semantic field. Ours was our semantic field was babies. So everything that has to be everything that's related to babies, stroller, uh, bottle, milk bottle.
So like semantic field, what I understand is that it's like a group of words that they are all connected in a certain
related.
way. They are related. They have a relation, and they are related to the same thing. So in the case, for example, of the semantic field of babies, everything that we can think that relates to babies. So diapers, maternity,
milk,
diapers.
Stroller. Tell me about it. I know. I have 2 kids.
Stop complaining.
Bottles.
Dogs.
Pampers.
Dogs.
Insomnia.
Wiping, whatever.
Wipers.
Wipers. I don't know how you call it.
A lot of wipers, a lot. Okay.
But for example, we find this type of exercises very often in books, textbooks that for teaching English, right? So we find exercises like find the odd out. So like here, for example, with the car, that doesn't have any connection with the ones that are babies. So it's a way to teach students vocabulary so that they make connections, because we don't learn words in isolation if we don't make connections with previous words or the whole family of words. So that's why I ask you to create an activity that could help you to teach like a family of words in your classes. That family of words is called a semantic field.
Semantic field.
That is, you will see in the other units that you will read in this book that there are some words, some new concepts for semantics that have a different word for syntax, for syntax. For example, the those The word they for syntax is an article.
Oh, okay.
And the word those for syntax is
Pronoun.
a determiner, yeah.
Determinant.
Plural.
But for semantics, they have a different concept. Yes, so you have to. It's important that you have that in mind so you don't get confused when you get to that chapter in which you will have like a different concept for the word they or for the word those and other words. Yes, because here we will learn words that are connected to meaning of the meaning and not the function of the word in the structure of a sentence, the meaning.
Okay. But we can say there too, like singular and plural, or it doesn't like.
You will see that, but here we are not dealing with grammar, but meaning of words. That's why you will find out a different concept to refer to the word they and to refer to the word those.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so is the concept of semantic field clear for all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, good. So that's all that we had to review today for the readings that you had last week. I don't know if you have any questions before we finish.
No, ma'am.
No, anybody?
No.
Okay. Okay, so I appreciate your participation. Well, if you find out something that is difficult for you to understand this week, so email me and I will help you, right?
All right. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Very nice.
All right, you are welcome. Have a good night, everybody.
You too, Professor.
Good night. Have a nice week, everyone. Bye.
Same to you. Good evening. Thank you.
Take care of
Good
your dog,
teacher.
Christian.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care of your dog. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, teacher.